Welcome to the Audiobook Lovin Series, a month-long event celebrating the authors and narrators that bring romance stories to life. Listen along as Viviana, Enchantress of Books, interviews your favorite writers and voices, share special guest posts, and stay tuned for some special information at the conclusion of the episode.
Hi, everyone. Today I have the pleasure of chatting with not one, but two narrators. So we're having a threesome, guys. So, but before I go there, we are talking with narrator Sarah Sampino, aka Alyssa Avery, and narrator Liam Price. Welcome, guys, to the Audiobook Lovin podcast series as well. How are you guys doing today?
Yeah, we're good. How are you?
I'm doing well. When we were trying to book this, Sarah, you were like, hey, we can do it at the same time. And I'm like, hey, if you want to have a threesome, by all means, I am okay with that. Considering romance, it's not a bad thing, right?
I know. I was like, I like this girl.
That's why I came here.
Yeah, you like how I think, huh, Sarah? Why don't we start by having you guys tell us a little bit about yourselves, how long you've been narrating and how you got started and everything else in the mix. Sarah, you want to go first?
Ooh. Yeah, sure. Loaded question. I'm Sarah. I am a full-time actor or actress or whatever you want to call it. I have been acting for 15 years and since I was 15, not 15 years. And I got into audiobooks just kind of naturally as an ebb and flow of that. Just one of the things that came with the job since you wear so many hats. And yeah, it was really amazing. And I got really lucky that I was able to quit my waitressing job and do only narration when I wasn't on set and auditioning and on stage and all of that. And then even more fortunate when the pandemic hit, my poor friends, most of them were just completely out of jobs in, whether you're an actor or a waitress. And I was really, really fortunate that I was able to continue voiceover throughout the pandemic. Now I do both. And that's my story.
Liam, what about you?
So I had nothing to do with audiobooks. What is it now? 4 years ago?
Yeah.
I think about. I grew up in the UK. So I've mastered the English accent. Getting there with the American one. Getting pretty good, aren't I, sir?
Yeah, you're getting great with the American.
Getting it right there. I grew up in the UK. I finished college and went traveling for probably about 3 or 4 years around the world, backpacking. I'd say a lot of experience with accents, but not necessarily acting. And then I came back home and ended up joining the army for around 5 years. And it was actually in my second to last year, I was in the Caribbean for 6 months. Working, I promise. And Sarah happened to be out with her family in the Caribbean, and we matched on Bumble.
I see we're telling our life story.
Absolutely. But this is my what was it? Origin story.
This is your origin
story. So we ended up talking, and our relationship flourished out of that. But it was only Sarah came to live in the UK for a few months with me, and it was only there that Sarah was like, well, do you want to do an audiobook? So we started there. So we started off with duets, and I've grown a little bit. I've done a few on my own. A bit nerve-wracking to begin with, I think. But yeah, I'm starting to get the hang of it. I built Sarah's booth.
He did.
Which is what we're sat in right now. Very comfortable, a little bit hot. And improvements will be made in time. I promised. So it was Sarah naturally fell into it, whereas I was like artificially inserted into the genre. But yeah, it's become really enjoyable. it's a very, very nice way to spend the days, and it's quite exciting as well. It's got a lot of promise.
Yeah. Well, Sarah, I mean, you picked a winner there, not only of finding someone in the Caribbean on vacation, but then someone that you can, hang out with and stuff. And then, of course, you're like, hey, you actually sound really good and you have a British accent naturally. Let's do audiobooks.
Yeah, right. I had to. The opportunity was just too good right there. I was like, dude, you can reach a market that I simply cannot. So I cannot be a real spoon British man.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, I know that you do a really good one though. So
Thank
that's,
you.
yes. It's really when we listen to dual narration or even single narration, the fact when the narrator is doing all the different voices and tones and accents and stuff like that, it's difficult to kind of maintain that. But also on the reality, there's only so many how low you can go or how high you can go to make it believable that it's the opposite sex speaking, which is also one of the reasons why I do love duets. And I'm glad that that's happening more and more often, just because it's more fun too. It's almost like listening to a play and things like that. But yeah, girl, you did good. Thanks. And Liam, I know this is part of your entire plan the entire time. You're like, I know I'm in the army, but I'm going to go to the Caribbean because that's a nice, good place to go. And then boom, it was all part of your plan, right?
Yeah. Well, it was a bit of a shock. I'd only as far as life plans go, I think I'd always had in my head up to sort of 25, and after that, I was kind of like, oh, don't know where I'm going from here. I got incredibly lucky with the Caribbean. It was during, what was it, Hurricane Maria?
Yeah, Maria.
Oh,
Hurricane Maria, and the other one, the nameless one.
Yeah.
And so obviously not very lucky then, but it meant that I did have the opportunity. Never thought about moving over to America, which has been an interesting experience certainly. But yeah, it's I think it's been a hell of a learning curve. It's a fantastic opportunity, something I would have never had without Sarah. I wouldn't have even thought of it, because it's something I think that's possibly incredibly easy to make the decision to go into, but I think it's a lot harder than maybe some people realize to make it good, make it work for them, make a good product for people, and and to enjoy it, and to really do the work justice sort of thing. I think it's very easy to read a book. It's far harder to record one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that I think kind of goes around hey, I've been told that I have a good voice, or I've been told that I sound good. And people are like, it's an easy job. I just sit here and read a book out loud. But I know there's a couple of coaches, specifically Sean Pratt, I believe, is the one that says, stick yourself in a closet and stay in there for about 8 hours and start reading. If you can survive that, then perhaps narration may be for you then. And I'm like, wow, it is. I mean, and of course, the being able to perform and provide that consistency across an entire book, whether it's an hour long or 8 or 9 or more, in some cases, it's definitely a skill set that needs to be honed and improved upon and practice and practice and practice. So it's definitely fun. But I know listeners, we love it. So thank you guys both for being narrators and hanging out with us today. So,
oh, thanks for having us.
Of course. No, I was looking at my list, like, who am I going to want to talk to for this season of the series in June? Because it's audiobook month. And Sarah, you have been popping up all over my feeds, whether it's on Instagram or, it's TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, and everything. And I'm like, who is this cutie patootie? And then every time I see you doing a different accent at the same time, and I'm going, wait, that's the same one. Yes. Because one minute you're a Southern Belle, the next minute you're doing a British accent. And I'm like, and then also your hair color has changed once or twice, I think, too. And I'm like, wait, that's the same. It's Sarah.
Oh,
Sarah.
absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. My hair color changes all the time. Definitely.
That's show business, baby.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, well, the girl that goes from blue to purple and blonde sometimes. I totally understand that concept of changing the hair color.
Yeah, nice, right? Oh yeah, I feel like every time I get a new job, they ask me to change my hair color. So just when I think I've settled into the right thing, they'll be like, no, we need you to go into the salon. I'm like, oh great, okay. I've gone blonde and back from blonde and brunette so many times.
The things we do for the careers we love. So part of the whole getting cast in a book, once you've been cast, is now you getting the manuscript and going into it as far as figuring out the characters, the accents and things like that. What does your process look like as an individual and even as when you guys are doing a duet book together of sorts? How is that preparation for you guys look like?
Yeah, so I will get the manuscript if I'm working with a publisher and they have notes from the author, that's great. Otherwise, if I'm working directly with an author, I will ask them if they want to send me any notes. I'll give them some examples of character breakdowns, things that are helpful. There are some authors who are very, very particular and they'll send me, essentially a Bible of their book baby, which is fantastic. And then others who just say, I trust you, do your thing, go have fun, come call me when you're finished with the whole thing. So those are two very different experiences and I like doing both. But regardless of that, I will read through the book first once, just as a reader, and I get to just be, the book nerd that I am again, and just read it and enjoy it and get into it and really feel the characters. And then after that, I will go through it again. I will, highlight any tricky parts. I will make notes for research that's needed. I'll write out the characters. Sometimes I will begin to sort of take notes on which voices I'm going to give to who and the different characteristics, write down the characteristics that are, concrete, that are actually written in the novel. And yeah, that's what I do. Sometimes for some authors, I will actually send them character voices in advance. But for the most part, I'm doing it as I go, already having a set idea of what I'm doing. And yeah, that's what I do. And I'm really lucky now that I get to record more and more often on TikTok. And I have some amazing moderators who actually live proof me as well. So that
Wow.
is amazing. Yeah. I'm very, very, very lucky.
That is amazing. And how far, this whole audiobook world has come as far as, starting into the booth and now getting people to help out and having a team of moderators. Wow. And live proofing. That is awesome. Did not think of that one.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, it's great. I mean, you still have proofing afterwards.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, it makes the process so much easier. And also it's very fun to be being called out on your mistakes and all the bloopers that happen live.
Yes. Those bloopers are always fun for listeners too. We love it.
Right.
Not because you guys messed up, but your reactions are priceless. The fuckity fucks that sometimes comes out of you guys when there's a mistake or the words get stuck and you cannot say it or pronounce it the right way. It's just like priceless. It's really nice though. But again, it's not like we're making fun of you guys. It's just funny.
No. Someone told me yesterday, they were like, oh, I love it when you stutter because it makes me feel so much better when I mess words up in regular life. I was like,
Oh, wow.
Okay, sure.
Well, I mean, it's definitely a gift. I know some people have the gift of gab and some people have the gift of being able to get up on stage and perform or do speeches and TED Talks and things like that. And as someone that has done panels and things like that, I'm okay with it. But that's also me like being like, I know what I'm going to talk about, but I'm also going to be off the cuff. Reading out loud in front of people, no. So as a girl that would stutter or completely get stuck on that word, I feel that, and especially that one word that just does not want to come out the right way. In my case, spaghetti sometimes happens. And one time I went to Boston, I came home with a bunch of cool souvenirs, but inclusive of the word "ka." I had to purposely put myself into the I'm going to go to the car versus I'm going to the car. And it's just, yeah. So yeah, it's bloopers are always fun to see from you guys. And we also love that you guys are willing to put it out there because that's also a bit of vulnerability, I think, as well, because we want to be as good as possible and things like that. But sometimes you're just like, yeah, so we do appreciate it when you guys share your bloopers with us a lot. So thank you for that. What about you, Liam? How do you go about prepping when you're getting a manuscript?
Well, without Sarah, I think it would be a shambles. Luckily, she a complete and utter shambles. Luckily with Sarah obviously introduced me. She didn't just set me forth into the world. So I similar process. I would say I'm certainly not confident enough yet to go in front of people while recording. Is terrifying to me. I much prefer being locked up in my own world doing it at the moment, at least. I think that's something that I'll grow into maybe. And although I'm sure my future bloopers will be horrendously good. But yeah, it's so I tend to, same sort of thing, read the book, tend to highlight as I go through, especially speech and stuff like that. I'm not as good. Sarah's got this real knack for being able to break down sort of the dialogue into who's meant to be saying it and switching between the accents, and it's been funny, but it is a long process sometimes. I'll go through and tend to highlight the different characters so that it makes sense before I do it. Blue and pink for boy and girl is very traditional, I suppose, but it really helps just to break down those complex dialogue for me to read off the page. And then again we'll ask questions to the author, although in duets Sarah will do that for me generally. she's the what was it, producer, manager?
Yeah, I'm the manager.
So yeah, sometimes I outsource my work to her as well, because she's better at it, more elite.
Yeah, well, you edit my
Higher
stuff.
tier. I do, yeah. So I edit and proof a lot of Sarah's stuff, which is great with the TikTok people, because the latest book I've been doing, I've only managed so far, I'm about halfway through. There's one pickup I found in the haystack, which is very good. So something is going very well. Either Sarah's cheating or they're doing a very good job.
No, I never have pickups. I would never make a mistake.
Yeah.
And so, but a caveat to that, of course, that Sarah would make very few mistakes,
Of course,
if any.
Of course.
But it has dramatically reduced even from that.
Nice save, babe. Good job.
Yeah, good one.
Good job.
Nailed it there.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things, especially when it comes down to certain words, and if there's a geography as far as if that word, how someone says it, if they're from Atlanta, Georgia versus Savannah, Georgia versus Florida, New York, and things like that. And so sometimes you're not told that information until after someone listens to it and it's like, no, that's not how you pronounce it. And it happens. It's okay. As long as the story flow is still there. A lot of times we're like, it's okay. It happens. We're human. It's okay to make mistakes.
I think it's definitely important to, as a listener, is you've got to take it with a pinch of salt.
Yes.
Because someone cannot do the genuine accent from each individual place around the world. If I had to do a French accent, it would be a French accent and not one from sort of Alsace-Lorraine in the village of Cordon Bleu, where, sort of they have the twang at the end of the words. I'm not going to be able to know that. So it's going to be a lot more generalized than that. And I think as long as you can, it's about giving you the flavor of certainly where these things come from. Unfortunately, I think I have a flavor for doing a Southern American accent instead of a general one sometimes.
I know. I said we got to get you more Westerns because you're just dying to go right into that true Old West accent.
I think it was all I was exposed to growing up was a lot of Westerns and then nothing else.
Well, cowboys are very popular nowadays, Sarah. I mean, It's like a Achilles heel for a lot of the listeners when the cowboy goes darling and or says something,
yeah.
and so hey, we all have our thing.
Can you do darling?
My unexplored genre is going to be westerns mixed with English sort of period dramas, historical period drama.
I still say that there should be an author out there that will write that it's the British hero that will, for some reason, ends up owning a ranch in the south of the US and is now a cowboy and has been here for a while and has developed some form of an accent in there too. So it could happen, or was born in London and then comes over,
It's a vastly underappreciated genre, I think, that definitely needs exploring.
Absolutely.
And vice versa, of course. The American coming over, venture capitalist coming over to Victorian England would be good. Any kind of mixes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, authors nowadays are getting very creative with the genres and the subgenres within romance, as well as some of the other ones, other genres that are out there, and creating these lovely worlds that we can, dive into and escape into as well. So it's like, at this point, I'm like, I'll listen, I'll read it, no worries. But yeah, when it comes down to the accent though, the British one, I think it's one of those that people are more particular about, and the authors as well. When they say something like, "Oh, they're from Cornwall, or they're from London, or they're from this other place," people tend to kind of think of like, okay, do they sound like the Beatles, or are they sounding like Downton Abbey, or is it like now the Bridgertons and things like that? And it's one of those things where listeners tend to be a little bit more particular, but as soon as they also hear it, they're like, oh, he sounds lovely. It doesn't matter what it is. Do you find
I think English listeners, I believe, are probably by their nature fairly pedantic sometimes in their appreciation of certain accents. I think it's something to do with, I think England has something like, or the UK in total has something like the most change between accents between like villages or something. It's very, it comes down to like the village you're in. I don't know how true that is. I don't necessarily sound like where I come from, weirdly enough. But then neither does Sarah, I would argue.
That's true. I should be on Long Island.
Yeah, Long Island. So, I think like there's certainly a bit of that. Although I think if you can do a good general English accent, you could probably get away with it really wherever you're from. We have the thing in the UK really is I sound posh to some people and weirdly not to Sarah. But Radio 4, BBC Radio 4 in the UK was what I grew up listening to, and it's really where I got my accent from. Is how I learned that, and probably how I learned most of my sort of English accents, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
right.
think from that kind of.
No, but you've got all the regions down.
Yeah, I have a lot, but mostly the thing is in the UK, I think making fun of people is probably the way to do that. I think that's the key, unfortunately.
Well, it happens everywhere. I think that especially when there is such a difference in pronunciations of accents, in the States, it's a little, people will make certain fun of certain accents and things like that. But I think it's also a little difficult because of there is such a difference between getting into one state into another. I mean, here in Florida, I could be driving for 6 hours and I'm still in the states of Florida. And it's but you'll get into different regions. But when it comes down to even South America, because I am bilingual, each country and then within each city. So I totally understand that when it comes down to the UK about the different villages, the one word can have 5 different meanings in the vicinity of like a quarter mile, and trying to figure that out and the little cadence and stuff like that. So I remember getting made fun of when I spoke Spanish and the Argentinian accent came out, especially when I was talking to a Cuban or a Puerto Rican, and then they were like, well, at least I don't eat my R's and things like that. So it becomes a fun.
Wow, what a judgy people.
I know. Oh yeah, we could be bad. We're like, oh no, the Puerto Rican's talking now. Great. And it's just because of the accents, and the fun part becomes in when you're in a group of friends, you can, fuck around with them that way. And we're like, oh no, there she goes again, eating her R's. Or like, oh no, she's pissed. The Argentinian accent came. I'm like, yes, I am pissed. So
I think we're all guilty of a little bit of that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And when it's done in an okay fun and it doesn't cross any lines, it's okay. As long as everybody is into it and everybody's throwing something back at you as well. I think it's all fair. That's the saying goes. It's fair and love and war.
Yeah. So Sarah does regularly say words that take me aback a bit because they're so sort of off kilter for me.
Yeah.
What
did you say this morning?
What?
That you were the thing that means
hard done by.
Yeah, hard done by. Have you ever heard of that?
No. So see, for me, how is that? How would you use that in a sentence to mean that?
So you'd say something like, the mechanic overcharged me for fixing my car. I feel a bit hard done by. And it's just like purposefully bad English. I don't know where the phrase came from. I think it's possibly just kind of an older way of saying like the other ones I was just about to say done up like a kipper.
Oh god.
Baby. That wouldn't help at all, would it? that wouldn't make it clear for anyone.
Yeah, that was the first one in a while that I was like, what did you say?
Yeah,
you guys should have a series. Seriously. There's another couple that they were on YouTube for a while years ago, and he was from the UK and she was from here in the States, and he would say something and it was anything from like bridges to the difference on when it comes to like grab my bag versus purse versus coin bag and things like that. It was hilarious. So you guys should definitely consider those little things because those are always fun, and plus you learn something.
Yeah, I would do it.
Yeah.
And Liam, convince you.
And Liam, you can also do one of those when Sarah says something and you're going, what the fuck did she just say? Because I know that we have some sayings too, that are like, ooh, no.
Well, Sarah's mum, I don't think understands anything I've ever said.
It did. She admits it did take her about a year until she stopped. She used to just smile and laugh and nod at what he was saying.
I thought she was very friendly. It turns out she couldn't understand a word I said.
Oh my goodness!
Now she's got it now.
Well, it's those little sayings. I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, I know like in the South we have like when we say bless your heart, it almost sounds like we're saying, oh, I'm so sorry, but we're actually saying you're a dumb fuck, and things like that. So there's a bunch of different sayings that we have here in the States that we're going like double back it and compliments and all that, insults and things like that. So I'm sure there's
definitely gonna remember that now.
Yeah. Oh, bless your heart. It's a good one for the South. They always use it. It's hilarious. But there's some fun ones. Do you guys have any kind of ritual before you start recording to kind of get your vocal cords all nice and warmed up, since it is an instrument and a muscle and all that fun stuff?
I'll do lots of neck stretches and lip trills, and depending on what time of the day it is and how much I'm warmed up, sometimes I'll sing some songs and all that jazz. Yeah, and we'll do our ritual, won't we, of preparing the drinks and the beverages, having a snack.
Yeah, normally I don't prepare in any way, realize about 5 minutes in, and then take a short break to prepare. Which usually involves the drinking's quite important. That's a pro tip. Keep, stop your mouth clicking, and to hydrate is important, it turns out. I've learned many a time. And it's do I have any? Normally about 5 minutes of sheer panic, some breathing, And if there are any accents, I like to look up, especially on like YouTube, I like to look up an accent of some kind to like get me in like the mood or the zone, to try and kind of like, I don't know, like get that voice into my head so that I'm ready for it. And that gets the that prepares me well.
I'm so used to you doing that now, like at the last, like as of the refresher, that I'll just stay downstairs when you say you're ready, because I'll just hear you call from upstairs. Okay, I'm just gonna prep. I was like, okay, hon. I know that you'll call me back in like 20 minutes.
Yeah. So I like to do that, and then make sure everything works, and like sort of all the machinery. There's normally something wrong when you get into the booth, I think, for the first time.
Always
something doesn't work. So something needs turning off and turning on again, or plugging in, or adjusting.
Or your mouth just doesn't form words properly.
Yeah, you forget to speak.
Yep. The English language escapes you.
Yeah.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, Liam, I've been doing this now for about 8 years, and I still get nervous right before the call starts. So, yeah. It doesn't matter who I'm talking to. I'm like, okay, the butterflies are in. Okay. And as soon as everybody says hi and we get the gist out of it, as far as the little questions and anything else that comes in, I'm like, okay, we're good. And then it's almost like hanging out at a bar and just, chatting and, getting to know each other kind of a thing. So it still happens after 8 years.
Certainly.
So
have you ever had to do icebreakers?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, those were just always, especially, I was very shy as a kid growing up, and icebreakers were possibly the worst nightmare I could imagine, of being told to stand up in front of your peers and introduce yourself, maybe say a hobby or something cool about you, and sit down, and it was just terrifying.
Yeah.
I can't imagine anything, and that's why I think I've grown in confidence, certainly, but I think I'm going to build up to maybe going live on Discord or TikTok or whatever to record in front of a live audience.
Well, we've done duets live on Discord.
Mm-hmm.
We have. Okay, well,
very funny.
Turns out I've taken that step.
Sometimes you just, it's not about taking a little run into the out of the comfort zone. Sometimes you got to get shoved in there, or in this case, shoved out of it. But yeah, wow. It's damn, Liam, you didn't know you were doing a live on Discord.
Yeah, there you go.
Sarah, I love how you do
next
things.
You'll tell me people will listen to this podcast.
You know what? I'm still surprised when I have people like, oh my God, I was listening to your, I'm like, you do? Oh, wow. Okay, great. Sometimes I'm like, I'm just doing this to hang out with you guys. And if anybody listens, great bonus. This way I just kind of get to know you guys better. And so when an author says, hey, I need a casting idea suggestion, I know who to talk about. So it helps for sure. So as far as the whole being nervous and things like that, and now doing the live stuff, I'm sure you can always just kind of get a small group of people on a Zoom and start practicing there and kind of grow your audience, and then just jump in one of the groups that Sarah's part of, and then all of a sudden just take it over. It's like, Sarah, it's okay. I'm just gonna go hang out with the the ladies and the romance listeners and go do my thing. And I'm sure she'll be fine with it.
They're begging for him to come on. Begging.
I want to build up the anticipation a bit more before I record in front of them, just to make sure they appreciate it as much as possible, I think.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to convince him to do our next duet live on TikTok, so we're just going to see if that happens.
Yeah, why not? And what's the worst that could happen? You guys have to just say, oops, technical difficulties, come up with a safe word, Liam. And, if you're not comfortable, just, say the safe word. And then she's like, oops, we're having technical difficulties. We'll be right back, guys. And then, kind of go from there.
That certainly means I can't record topless anymore as well.
Well, no, says who?
Well, you've had issues with TikTok, haven't you?
Oh, 100%. Because
yeah.
I don't.
Not for recording topless. I want to.
No.
Thanks for clarifying. But I know.
I mean, I don't wear a bra when I'm recording. Like, that's the biggest thing for me. Is it's just like much more comfortable.
What about the bands?
Oh yeah.
for you, the naughty words.
No, that's true. Well, just to clarify, I do wear a bra when I'm on TikTok, but that was the thing is I have my emergency bra on the floor. But I was getting banned on TikTok all the time because I was doing steamier books. But then I then I stopped. I only did those on Discord, and it was really anything. Someone would just come on and report me for fun kind of thing, and I would just get banned for anything. So now if I'm saying anything that's even a little bit not G-rated, I have to pause the live and I put my hand in front of the screen, say the sentence, and then I flip it back up. So that's kind of been the way we get away with it.
It's stunning, and I'm still like, you've got to be fucking kidding me as to what is deemed inappropriate when it comes down to some of the social media stuff, whether it's on TikTok or Facebook and things like that, because I'm like, you will have issues because you said a word or a sentence, or there's a photo of a chest as far as a guy with abs, but then there's other things that are going on far worse in places within that same platform, and they're fine. And so it's just it's really bad sometimes when they have those things, but at the same time, you should just kind of wear that as a badge of honor, that you've been banned. You're the girl that gets banned for reading the naughty stuff,
Yeah,
might as well.
That's how you know it's good.
Exactly. Yeah. See, it's all about the marketing. It's all about how you spin it. Romance gets a bad rap, and it's everybody always thinks it's just about the sex. But there's different levels of spiciness and steaminess and things like that. How have you guys handled that when it comes down to the romance genre and reading some of those spicier scenes together and things like that? Or alone?
Oh, I remember before you were ever narrating, I talked to you about it first because I hadn't done any of the steamier books until after we were together. I just remember asking you, we had to sit down and talk about if you were okay with it. Because it took me a while to build up to it. And I was like, all right, I think I might be ready. And then I was nervous about asking you what your thoughts were. And you were just kind of like, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I am self-admittedly a jealous man, but well, yeah. So yeah, I think there's something, I suppose it's slightly more disembodied than, like, say you're acting on screen, maybe. It's just very there's a little bit of that distinction. I also think it's definitely a skill to write a convincing romance scene in a book. I think it's it can be very, and I mean, like, there are many ways to do it, not all of them correct. And some fascinating like wording and things like that. I think it takes some real skill to write a good scene, and then to bring that to life through audiobook is brilliant. It is also one of the funniest things I think we've ever had to do, especially together, with saying some very intimate phrases and some incredible Foley, if you will, noises. And I mean, it's actually probably quite fun. It's like, there's scenes with a lot of passion.
Oh, it's my favorite.
With a lot of like dynamism and emotion in them, and it can be some of the best bits of the book.
We're just peeing our pants the entire time. They can be phenomenal scenes, but we are having a blast. It's not work because we record. When we're doing a duet, we record together. So we're in the booth, which is big enough for the two of us. Joe made it that way. And so we're doing it at the same time. Whereas for a lot of people, when they do duets, they're still not in the same room at the same time. So for us, it's just amazing. And it's so much more authentic, and we can bounce off of each other. And some of my favorite times together, just in our relationship together, have been in this booth just cracking up and getting the giggles and not being able to go to the next sentence because we're just having too much fun with each other, trying to make each other crack and laugh.
It's definitely something that I know that when someone has not done a whole lot of audiobooks, it's something that people are like, I don't know if I want to do this or if I'm okay with it. Or those that are in a relationship, sometimes as the listeners, we wonder what their significant other thinks about the fact that in most cases, because romance is, written by women for women, and they're generally cis straight women, a lot of them will go goo goo gaga and dead on swoon for the guy narrator. And if they say a certain word or a certain phrase or how they say it, they're always like fangirling and, oh my goodness, when he said that, I was like all tinglies all over the place, blah, blah, blah. And to me, it's always fascinating when it comes down to a couple that is a narrating duel as well. And I'm going, so Sarah, how does it feel to have people going, oh my goodness, when he says that about your man?
I know. Well, you know what? It is weird. It's definitely not what I expected in a relationship. But first of all, it just means he's doing his job well, which I love. And also it makes us money. So, and it makes him happy. So it makes me happy.
I love how you put money before my happiness. But
she has her priorities.
Yeah, how do I dug myself into that one, didn't I?
Well, I mean, think about it. I think it's when it comes down to, people that are appearances. I mean, look at the book covers that we all love and adore. There's always a bit of like self-gratification. And I think that for a moment there are a lot of,
Sorry, I was gonna say, if you were just dirty talking to women all of the time,
that's
just
true.
for fun. And just, just like, oh, let me just log online and dirty talk to women, and you weren't making money from it or anything, I would be a little bit sorry.
A little bit suspect.
Your happiness really is play here, my love.
Good point, Sarah. It's a job. But it's good to have this like open lines of communications, like you said that before when you started and getting more into the steamier stuff of having the conversation with your significant other. Now he's also doing it, and as he continues to grow, there will be times where he's doing books that are not with you. And once he gets more on social media, there's going to be those listeners that are like, "Oh my God, Liam, when you said that line from that book, oh, it was swooning and tingles all over the place."
My ovaries.
Yes. My ovaries exploded. Yeah.
My ovaries exploded.
Sounds like a pretty advanced medical condition, that.
Well, it's one of those things when people say, hey, your husband's hot or your husband's cute. And I'm like, well, you know what? When you're not living with them and they do something that annoys the shit out of you, yes, you can say that he's hot in a lot of times. Or the opposite too, when they're like, oh, like when we know that the narrator's married and we ask them about, hey, has your wife listened to your books? And what does she think? A lot of the times the wife is like, I've known him for too long. I'm used to it. And I don't think it's anything different. And the husband, the male narrator would say the same thing. And all of us are going goo gaga over it. It's just, to me, it's just hilarious. So,
oh no, I'll be like, more passion. Give me that. Make that moan louder, more intense. Let's go. Get into it.
Yeah, I mean, she does do that. That is her coaching style. Is very much along those lines.
Be sexier.
If someone came up to me in the street and tried to said anything, I think you'd be violently opposed.
Oh, I'd kill them.
Yeah, you haven't been happy about that.
I would kill them.
But
he can't order coffee without a woman swooning over him. I said, excuse me. Mine. He said something British comes out and you're just, oh my God, are you British?
No, well, are you from Australia?
Are you from Australia?
Yeah, some people do convince the accents a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, you can have him in the audiobook world, but in the real world, he's mine.
I think that's it though. I think there is a definite distinction between audiobooks, and that's why I quite like it, is there's, instead of acting or film where it's very much you take up the role fully on screen, and so in someone else's mind that is who you are, in the audiobook booth, you could, Sarah and I can record a book, and it's, it can be as raunchy as anything. It can be as sexy or something out of this world. But then we can get out of the booth, and it's just us. It's our relationship. There's none of that sort of. I'm not really exposed to any of like the repercussions from that. I'd say it feels very sort of separated, which I quite like.
Yeah, no, for me, I love being in, getting fully into the character.
You're an actress.
Well, yeah, that's true. That would be the difference. But when the camera turns off or the lights are down, I don't like take that with me. I'm back. I'm me. So it's not. I said totally like get what you're saying, but yeah, I guess that's like the difference between us. Is I like both mediums. I just love.
Yeah.
A lot of the phrases we learn from books do come up in day-to-day life, though. We do we work with the medium we are given.
My favorite is folds. It's just my best.
My favorite is shown.
Yeah, descriptives can always be rather interesting when it comes down to certain body parts and things like that. But I've part of the conversation that the listeners have sometimes is that because of how romance is, talks about the intimacy and the sexual relationships between the couple, it's sometimes we discover that they may like certain things, or that they realize that they had a kink, or that they like it when someone says certain things. I've done it myself, where I've highlighted and I've given it to my husband's like, okay, just read it, memorize it. We'll try it later. And so, and a lot of listeners will do something similar, like, oh, babe, you have to read this line and then say it to me, be spontaneous about it. But remember, and sometimes I feel bad for the guys, because I'm like, yeah, that's a lot of homework right there. But
that's so funny.
Yeah, but I can, again, the amount of stuff that you guys are going through as far as the different genres, the subgenres, because how you say something in a contemporary romance versus if it's a historical romance is totally different.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Yeah. Has there been anything that surprised you when it comes down to the narration, from like for you, Sarah, from an acting perspective, and Liam, even from a brand newbie kind of a perspective, that's something that's like, ooh, that you did not really think about it or gather it or anything like that?
Definitely mic technique, I would say, is a big thing. Just because, I might want to, like, if I was doing a full-blown acting scene, I might be screaming into the mic, or, the softest of whispers, and, you have to really be careful with that. And you can also use the mic as a partner in a way. You can play with how you're positioning and how you move around it to, better affect the performance. And that has been really fun, because that's an aspect that I wouldn't get to control as an actor in another medium. And another thing I would say would be just the amount of control, really, that you have when you're doing an audiobook. I mean, you're making every acting choice, you're making every decision, and sometimes it can be, quite a lot. You kind of take it all on. When there's 130 characters, you are those 130 characters, not just one. But it's also like so cool to just be able to make it exactly the way it is in your head as well, of course with the author's vision as well put together. But it's really cool to just sort of craft the world from the words, and sort of build this thing up from the pages into something that I still can't really believe people want to listen to, my voice for whatever reason.
Oh goodness. What about you, Liam?
I think for me, one of the biggest shocks coming into it was probably the level of endurance you have to build up to record these books. I certainly, especially at the beginning, had none. And it is, you're talking, you have to concentrate for, I mean, hours upon hours in the booth, making sure that you're delivering a good product, that you're recording a great book. And certainly at the beginning, I could only pump out maybe 15 finished minutes at a time, just because you're talking constantly. The concentration levels. I think definitely coming from a fairly physical working background, it definitely was a surprise to me that recording would be so draining, really, both mentally and physically, weirdly enough. And I think that was the most shocking. I think what else? I think maybe honestly the other shocking thing for me was probably the how that I could get into it, that I could sort of adapt into the industry, as it were. Because you do, I think, within the sort of narrating community, you do have a vast amount of people have a background in acting or VO work or whatever it might be. A lot of people are from other backgrounds. They wanted to get into it. They had the energy to do it, to learn about it, and got into it that way. Quite a few authors themselves as well, I think, that narrate, and like some of them will narrate their own books, which is very cool. And yeah, I think sort of that aspect. Certainly, I didn't think that there'd be such a plethora of specialties as backgrounds to a lot of narrators, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely something that up until a few years ago, people didn't really know a lot about, except for those that were in voiceover or did the that career path wasn't really talked about. I know that even when I was in high school and we were talking about careers and stuff like that, it was always your traditional teacher, doctor, lawyer, psychologist, blah, blah, blah. I really wish they would have told me that I could be taking photos of how meant and then put them on covers and learn graphic design work or, audio engineering and things like this, because I was like, that was never brought up. And now I think that's something too that I try to bring up when I'm doing any kind of form of working with the high schools and stuff like that, saying, there are other things aside from really good work as far as being a teacher and police officer and fireman, which is those great, callings and stuff like that. But if it's not for you, there's all these other options too that are part of the literary world that are now being more talked about. And how you get into it is just significantly more diverse now too, as well. So that's always a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up like exactly the same as you, really. I grew up listening to we didn't call them audiobooks back then. I think talking books or something. I think
books on tape as well.
Books on tapes, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we had those, and we had radio plays and things like that. It for some reason never crossed my innocent mind that obviously that was someone's career, they were doing that. I think there was just an assumption that they were all actors. And yeah, I mean, with this industry growing so much recently, it's just allowed an avenue really for a lot more people to get involved, which is great for us.
Yeah, definitely great for us.
Yeah. And there's so many different genres as well. Even with romance, I like to kind of say that romance is like an umbrella term with all the subgenres underneath it, from paranormal to historical to contemporary to dark, and then fill in the blanks. There's so many of them and more keep getting invented. Is there a genre that you guys have yet to narrate in that you want to narrate in?
Ooh, yet to narrate in.
You've done quite a few.
I don't. What genre have I yet to narrate in? Sports, maybe.
Have you done? You haven't done too many nonfic.
Haven't done too many nonfiction. No, I haven't done too many nonfiction. I could definitely do more nonfiction. Self-help books would be fun. That would be cool. Being able to like actually narrate things that'll help other people with like concrete
Or us.
advice.
Yeah.
Or us.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, baby?
For me, I would love to do a bit of nonfiction, probably history. I'm a bit of a history nerd. And sci-fi and fantasy is my we had a book lined up, didn't we? But unfortunately we never ended up.
Yeah, we had a book and that one ended up not working out, but that was going to be so fun. That was a duet lit RPG. And at the last second there was an issue that didn't work out with scheduling, so we had to switch that up. But yeah, I would say, because I do mostly romance and then like fantasy, sci-fi, lit RPG kind of stuff.
I just do romance.
No.
Pure, disgusting, dirty human romance.
Well,
He's
you're doing
dying
the
for
Shakespeare
us.
books.
What Shakespeare books are you doing?
I think that it'll be our own thing, but we'd probably just release our own versions of Shakespeare Lamb Tales, which they're simplified Shakespearean. For anyone that doesn't know, they're simplified Shakespearean plays for children, effectively, which is something that's how I learned Shakespeare growing up. So I thought I'd do like a good quality version of that. Trying to just do some other things. Romance has been good, but I think if I'm going to do some books on my own, I probably want to branch out just outside of sort of one genre. Although, like you say, romance does come in many forms. I didn't realize how much at all. And then there's just so much stuff, so much content, all sorts of sort of different areas of exploration that you can do in it, aren't there?
Yeah, I mean, if you want your action and your guns a-blazing, you go into the romantic suspense when bullets are flying by and she still wants to make out with you. And, from the historicals, I mean, there's still a lot, but there is also so many different genres as well. I mean, there's the non-fictions, and then there's the sci-fis, and then there's all these other documentaries and the murder mysteries and the thrillers, and there's a lot of horror that has been starting to come out in audio as well. So psychological thrillers, all that fun stuff. So
I would do horror. I don't know if I've done like a pure
that'd be cool
horror book. That would be fun. A duet horror would be awesome.
Romance horror.
Funny enough, that's starting to be like, as when I talk to a lot of the narrators, that's come up a lot. Like, it'd be kind of fun to do like a horror, horror romance. I'm going, okay, never thought of that one, but okay.
I would do it.
Yeah.
I'd be jumping throughout the night after we've been done recording. I'm so scared.
Well, authors, if you have a horror with some romance elements into it, or a romantic horror out there, come get, Sarah and Liam, and they'll narrate the book in duet form, and that'll be a fun little listen, I'm sure. The other thing that'd be fun. The other thing that you guys have, aside from the narrating stuff, is you guys own Audiobooks Unleashed. Do you guys want to talk about that a little bit and tell us what that's about? And because I love the whole like audiobooks unleashed. I'm like, what are we unleashing? Like, tell us more.
Unleashing your potential. Audiobooks Unleashed is awesome. We have two divisions. One is for promo codes and promotion and marketing and helping authors and narrators get actual quality reviews for their books, and helping readers who are just hungry for titles but maybe can't afford to get as many as they would like. Well, they have options and they have access to some free promotional copies, so that's been great. And then we're full speed ahead with our distribution division, and so that is us handling production sometimes for if people want, but for the most part it's distributing people's finished books and sending them out to stores, whether it's just Audible or different platforms around the world or libraries. It's just been really great to be able to give people a more personalized approach. And, as a narrator, we'd be like, oh, well, I wish it could work this way. I wish it could work that way. And so eventually we're like, well, why can't it? And so we made a business. It's been really, really great. And just developing and evolving over time. And we're really, really lucky to have had so many people believe in us and help us really as we have been developing and growing. And we're super excited for what comes next.
Yeah, it's a lot of daunting when it comes down to audiobook, because a lot of people tend to think, okay, well, I wrote this book and it's great. Now I want to make it into an audio. And then the next question is like, how do I do that? And
exactly.
People tend to go, okay, well, obviously the casting and getting the narrators, that's like the biggest, like everybody knows that part. But all the other stuff, like even how to put it up somewhere and those little, do you want to do it only, like you mentioned, it's only on Audible versus, global or wide distribution. And there's so many different things and facets to it. So I know that's very daunting for a lot of us. And so the fact that you guys have this company that can help authors and narrators as well, that may do their own productions, but then need the next step as well. It's really great. I mean, I know that I was looking into it a couple months ago and I was like, okay, this is really cool, because, a lot of, sometimes it's still part of the conversation that is starting to happen more. Is how do you get an audiobook made into an audiobook? And some authors are like gung-ho and they want to be in part and involved in everything and end up almost kind of creating their own little, their own production company that includes distributions. But others are like, no, I already wrote it. That's as far as I want to go. I need someone else to handle the rest.
Exactly.
Yeah. So having you guys there to, be able to walk someone through it, or have someone say, hey, I know who I want to get cast, but the rest of it I still need some help with. And I'm like, let's go talk to Sarah, and with Audible Unleashed and kind of go from there. It's really good that you guys have that option now for authors that are interested in getting their books made into audio. So that's really cool. I was excited when I first learned about it. So we'll be including.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it's been great. We're just really lucky. Honestly, I'm just really honored that people have trusted us with their catalog and with their titles.
Just to give a little background, so the promo code website was actually we set it up. Well, Sarah set it up just in sort of the first part of the lockdown. We were living in her parents' basement at the time. And it was over it. She saw that there was sort of a hole in the market, set it up over a weekend. She's not a computer programmer, looked it all up, put it together. And that was the first thing we had. And then it definitely improved to a certain extent over the next year. And so these are, we're a small business. It's run by the two of us. And so, we just wanted to really sort of fill that hole in the market, I think, for smaller people, independent narrators, producers, authors, to gain access to the wider market and to be able to produce their book rather than, I know certainly people would get sort of sidelined by larger sort of audiobook companies. So it's just to really sort of allow the small guy to get his foot on the first step.
To give people access, because you can't, as much as you want to go through these DIY companies, which are fantastic, you will never get the same nitty-gritty like metadata opportunities and promotional opportunities than a publisher would get, a big time publisher. So that's kind of where we came in, is we were like the helping hand to give the indies and the smaller publishing companies all of the opportunities that like the bigger publishers would get.
Yeah, that's something too that I think a lot of authors are like, oh, if I was with a big publishing house, they would take care of everything. I'm like, yeah, it's always great, but at the same time, there's other drawbacks to doing that way. But there's so much, there's so much information too out there, and not all of it is accurate or correct. And then trying to filter that information and figure out who are those individuals that are reputable versus those that are trending at the moment versus someone that is just decided to open up a business and has no background in anything but has had luck in one or two things. So being able to go to someone and to say help is, like, I have no clue what's next, please, Sarah. It's really good to be able to have that ability to be there and just say, hey, let's go talk to Sarah, or refer someone to you guys. It's been really good to be able to have that option there, and also for not to have to be the SME of everything either. Like, I have no clue about this, but Sarah will. So it's always a good thing to have. So we'll be including the information on Audible Unleashed within the post for people that are authors and even narrators that may want to get more information. They can find it there. We'll make sure to include that. On some semi-non-work related questions, when you guys are not working, what do you guys do for fun?
Eat. So what on earth? Well, I've been kayaking recently is my thing.
Escape room games.
Escape room games.
Board games.
Yeah, we like our boardrooms. Sarah's a bit of an escape room connoisseur.
Ooh.
So that's a skill. I cook a lot.
I like how you're saying it like a question.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm so lost in my life.
We go on walks, we go hiking, you go kayaking. I'm afraid that I'll capsize the boat.
Yeah, true. Just explore the local area. Restaurant hunting is a good one.
We used to really travel, but now that, as soon as things get a little better, we'll go back to that. But that was always great.
Yeah. COVID obviously was for everyone was harrowing. But yeah, certainly it was hard to travel. And I had the immigration process.
Yes, that was the best thing to do in your spare time.
Yeah, that was basically that was a bucket of fun right there. One of my activities, but it precluded a lot of travel and things like that, which would be nice to return to. It would be very nice.
Yeah.
What's your favorite holiday and why?
Christmas. I love Christmas. I just love the vibe.
Mm-hmm.
I love Christmas. The snow. I love fairy lights, the lights that come in. I'm a big Christmas person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to agree though, actually. I'd have to agree.
Okay. Yeah?
Yeah.
I've convinced you?
No, I really like Christmas, not in a weird way like you, but in a
I love Christmas in the proper amount.
There's something of like so cozy and reassuring about it as a holiday, I think. Like being inside from the cold.
Okay. I love how he's like, not as crazy as you, but I love it.
He was fighting me on decorations. I was like, excuse me, it's Christmas.
What?
All of the very first year when we took out the boxes of decorations and you were just like, we do not have this where I come from.
Oh well, okay, that's a bit of that's a cultural difference though.
A cultural difference, is it, sir?
I've just never had that much decorations growing up. So my mum, instead of having Christmas trees, especially when me and my brother were older, we'd have a Christmas branch that we'd find, and my dad would prop up in a pot in the living room and then put presents around it, and they might decorate it or something. I think they kind of gotten over Christmas at that point.
Oh,
I love that, but we're having a Christmas tree every year. Thank you very much.
It's almost like they were doing like a Charlie Brown kind of a Christmas.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It's definitely
there were dark times.
Well, everybody does things differently, and when it comes down to Christmas as a holiday, you will have those families that go all out, matching pajamas and professional photos. And I mean, I know some people that used to hire people to come in and decorate the house for Christmas, and then others were more of the do it yourself kind of, decorations. And especially when the kids came along, it was like the handprints and, macaroni and pasta kind of salad, decorations for instead of beads and things like that. So it's definitely one that can run the gamut when it comes down to how it's done. And so I can imagine that as a girl that has a lot of Christmas decorations, it can be a bit daunting at times, But Sarah, do you have multiple Christmas trees in the house, or do you just have the one?
No, we've got the one Christmas tree. We're not, the decorations aren't. Do we have two? Oh, well, we have the baby.
He just outed you.
No. It's a little baby fake little plastic tree that I put upstairs or in my booth. It brings me joy.
You put it upstairs, did you?
Okay, Joe put it upstairs. But what's mine is yours, love, including your labor. But yeah, no, we're good. We're good. The place isn't crazy. It's just cheerful.
Well, do we count the other tree as a Christmas tree though?
What other tree?
Like that palm tree we have growing in there.
Do we count the palm tree as a Christmas tree?
It's a tree.
So we're just gonna count any tree as a Christmas tree.
It's up at Christmas.
Should we count the flowers?
Then we get given it for Christmas.
I think we did get given it for Christmas from my parents, yeah, but I don't think it was meant
Ladies
to be.
and gentlemen, Christmas tree.
Again, as a Florida girl, our palm trees do get decorated, for the holidays, for Christmas, and sometimes shape-wise is not a good thing because it kind of looks like a little bit of a phallus sometimes, depending on how they do the lighting. It became kind of interesting. So yeah.
I wouldn't accept anything less.
Yeah, but I mean, there are also those houses that have the lights synced up to music and they have different things going on. You've seen those, right?
So cool.
One of the first things your dad showed me in the US during Christmas was he drove us by a house that had a video thing, so you could tune into their Christmas music, which went with their lights.
It was amazing.
Yeah,
I could never do that because I just don't have the patience.
It's now associated with my experience of America.
Yeah, I like watching it, not necessarily having to do it. It's I have the big tree. I think it's a 10-footer. Yeah, vaulted ceilings. But then I ideally, and I have other Christmas trees, like one from my office and one from the dining room. However, with that said, it's been a couple of years since any of that stuff got set up, just because craziness in life. But yeah, so I totally understand where Sarah's coming from. But yeah.
Also, you're definitely a big Christmas person.
Yeah, I like the hominess, kind of like how you were saying though. Like I like having people come over. I like cooking for them, doing some of the spending time playing board games and things like that. And then I find something. Like the one in my office, I did some like do it yourself kind of ornaments, but there are book covers that are like glazed and things like that from my favorite books that I loved throughout the years. And so that gets hung on the Christmas tree and, little things like that. So yeah, it's a fun holiday.
Oh wait, is that similar to the thing you did as well?
Which thing?
The books.
Yeah. I made little books for my authors. They were ornaments. Like if we did a book together, I gave them I took their book covers and I made them little book ornaments. Well, I ordered them on Etsy. Let's be clear. I can't.
So I
paid for it and I sent it over and I assembled the covers.
Yeah,
that's not my talent. I'm not very crafty.
We all have our things. It's fun. You guys work with words all day long. What's your favorite word? Not your favorite curse word, because that's a separate part of the question that comes later. But what's your favorite word?
Corrugated iron.
That's 2 words. So
corrugated iron. That's an inside joke between the two of us.
I was gonna say.
He said it in conversation when we'd first met, And I was just, for whatever reason, obsessed with the way he said it in his accent. And so now it's actually engraved on my engagement ring.
Aw, that's cute. So what about you,
Most
Liam?
loving of phrases.
What's your favorite
Oh.
word?
Oh, there are just so many, aren't there? That's the problem. I like voluminous.
Huh. I was trying to guess what you would do, and that's not what I thought.
I don't know. When you said favorite word, it just popped into my head, and I was like, I'm rolling with this.
Forever. That's a good word.
Sorry, there are definitely a few. They I think
He's taking this very seriously.
Very seriously. I think every other day there's a new word that comes up or you read, and I'm there like, oh, I like this one.
That's good, because I mean, usually I catch people a little bit off guard with that question, and you were like, "Oh, I already got this. I got this," and I have a few, so that was awesome. So, what about your favorite curse words?
Well, apparently I didn't realize it, but whenever I'm on lives and I mess up, I tend to go. I go motherfucker. So that's mine right there.
Just
they
like
finally
that.
had to like show me. They finally had to show it to me. They're like, "This is what you do." I was like, "Ah, I see."
Oh my goodness! And just like that in that tone too, like that.
Oh yeah, just like that.
Oh, wow.
That's yours.
Yeah. What about you, Liam?
I don't know if it's necessarily a curse word anymore, but I always like cretin.
Oh, do explain.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I would say cretin.
Yeah, kind of like the old Victorian things to like kind of insult people. I think if I was going for a more modern word, I'd probably say twat is my favorite.
I do.
I love the power of it's the twang in the twang in the twat. Where twat is very, yeah, I like that. I think it's a very powerful one. But you can use it. I don't know about here, but definitely in the UK, you can use it as a term of endearment, especially as well as one of admonishment.
What about idiot?
Yeah.
Is it idiot?
Idiot. It's just
Idiot.
Yeah. Hey, idiot. Egypt.
Yeah. See, that word, I became aware of that word thanks to Supernatural, because one of the characters would call the guys, just stop being such an idiot.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
I thought when I was a kid, I thought people were saying egret as in like the bird. For a bit. Turns out I was the Egypt.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's twat's a good word. I think a lot of there's some people in my circle that were like, God, she's being such a twat, and so we use it instead of being, in other words, just because it just, like you were saying, it the way that it sounds and what it means and implies. It's just like, yeah, we do like those words. Music is something I think that we all have in common in one way or the other, regardless of where we're from or even, age differences and stuff like that. There also is that one song that when it comes on, it doesn't matter where it is that you're at, but it's going to cause you to either start singing or start busting out a move. What song is that for you guys?
Ooh, you go first.
I feel like I should say like the song we danced to at our wedding, or like the song that reminds me of you.
And what are you saying instead?
That's I've gotten really into sea shanties recently.
He's not kidding. Actually,
I know.
That is what we jammed to in the car.
Yeah. I love them too, so I totally understand.
But at the moment, between Sarah and I, Sarah's a bit of Ed Sheeran was the last car ride, wasn't it?
Yeah,
we did a lot of Ed Sheeran, and so it was Ed Sheeran and sea shanties.
Yep.
So they go surprisingly well together.
They do, because he's done a sea shanty. Hasn't he? He's in the Wayfaring Stranger. Isn't that a sea shanty? It's an Irish, I think.
Galway Girl?
Yeah. Well, those are both good. Yeah. Definitely thanks to social media, the sea shanties have been getting more and more popular and creative as to what it is. So I'm sure one day they'll bust out in the at the supermarket being played out there on the frozen section. So people can start busting out those.
If they don't, I'll make it happen.
Okay.
You do like that one?
Yeah.
Now that's what I call sea shanties.
Yes.
Like replaces like R&B and pop as the.
I didn't know if you would get that reference.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I think it's one of those where sometimes those sea shanties are a lot better than some of the other music that's out there nowadays. But yeah, I digress. It's they're fun though, and people have gotten really creative on what they've come up with as well, and creating their own styles. So those are fun. But I like asking that question because I'm like, well, now I know at least what to put on my phone. So when we do hang out, like at a convention or something like that, I can bust out that song and see how you guys react to it.
Bust out the sea shanties.
Yeah,
I will absolutely forget, and I'll be wondering why pirate songs are on there.
We're like, wait, remember a chat, and then you'll start busting out. Yeah. Do you guys have anything scheduled for either this year or next year as far as attending any conventions or anything like that?
I don't think so, but I mean, we're down.
You've been busy. I think last year.
Yeah, I went to a few last year for sure, but yeah, no, nothing.
We did a couple. Well, not really conventions, I suppose.
We wanted to go to Love in Vegas, but that just didn't happen. Just didn't work out. But no, yeah, if anyone's got suggestions, hit us up because we're down. Well,
I was gonna suggest Allure in Chicago. Because that's specifically for the audiobook world. It's just strictly audiobook stuff. So
oh no, yeah. So we would love to do Allure. The dates actually might not work out, which is why we haven't gotten tickets yet. Yeah. It's kind of frustrating. We might be in the UK then. So that is why we have held off on Allure. But if we can at all be there, we absolutely will be.
Okay. Well, yeah, there's a couple of other ones that are coming up into even next year. They're starting to do more plans and things like that. So we'll hang out one of these days in one of these events and
definitely.
Yeah, and have some fun. So what is coming up next for you guys individually together that you guys can share and talk about so we know to add it to our calendars?
We're doing the we can talk about it. We're doing Love, Joanna, the Revolutionary War, right?
I'm looking very forward to this one, actually. Yeah.
Where I'm an American girl and I fall in love with a red coat.
Ooh.
Traitor.
With Liam being the red coat, of course.
Yeah. Anything else that you can share? Because I know it's one of those things where, there's so many things, but then like, has that been announced yet or has it not been announced yet? So
I know, right? I'm doing the next 2 books back to back of the Fallen Wolf series. I know that what else can I say I'm doing? I'm doing the final book in the Raven and the Dove series next month. I can't talk about that one. What else what can I talk? Oh, I'm doing an Ilsa Madden Mills book, a hockey romance, which I'm super excited about. That is supposed to be in like a week, I think, actually. Haven't gotten the manuscript for it yet, but very excited.
Nice.
Yeah, that's my next few weeks or so.
Yeah. Liam, do you have anything else?
No, nothing.
Nothing yet. Okay.
Exciting coming out apart from the duet.
Cool. Well, I know between the time that this airs and now if anything changes, let me know and we'll add it to the list for people to find. And if not, I'm sure we'll find out more via your social media stuff. So, but I want to take right now and say thank you both of you guys for hanging out with us and being part of this year's Audiobook Lovin Series. I truly appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us. Here.
Yeah, it was fun. And everyone, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. And we hope you've enjoyed this chat as well as the entire series. Make sure to follow them on social media and we'll be including those links so you guys don't have to go hunting for it over at the Audiobook Lovin Series page at Viviana, Enchantress of Books. And until next time, happy listening.
Thank you for joining us in the Audiobook Lovin Series, hosted by Viviana, Enchantress of Books. We hope you have enjoyed this episode, as well as the series. We've included audio samples of our guests' work within the post for you to check out. Please make sure to visit the main page, link within the post, to learn more about the series, the authors, and the narrators. Please consider leaving a review wherever you listen to the series if you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to follow us on our social media platforms and subscribe to the Viviana Enchantress of Books newsletter. Until next time, happy listening. Audiobook Lovin hopes you've enjoyed this program.